What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars. Today I'm actually going to be reviewing The Truman Show.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Shoot, I didn't know that you were here, man. I'm not talking about anything.
You're part of this, aren't you?
Part of what? Here's a review. What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm joined once again by my buddy Anthony A. Perez, who has agreed to talk with me about one of my favorite Jim Carrey films of all time. It's The Truman Show. In Sea Haven Island, Truman Burbank is just your average everyday man, except the entire world is watching his every action as he is the unwilling main star of a hidden camera reality show called The Truman Show. Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, The Truman Show exposes what Truman loves, fears, and worries about the most, and in his 30th year, he begins to question the nature of his world and how everybody seems to be in on it, not fully understanding what it even is. Before I get too far into my thoughts on this movie, I want to first thank Anthony for joining me for another review. Love having him on, and I've left a link to his channel in my description box below, so if you're interested in hearing more from him, please don't hesitate to check him out, give him a subscribe, check out everything that he has to offer. Now, on to The Truman Show. As I said before, this is one of my favorite Jim Carrey films of all time. I've reviewed it now 3 times, twice before in written format, and once now on this channel. It's easily a top 3 Jim Carrey movie for me, but I'm not entirely sure if I place it in 2nd or 3rd place. First is definitely Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but there's a lot about this film that feels pretty flawless as well. This, of course, is a simulated reality situation, so if you think about it, it's kind of like a dramedy version of The Matrix, where you have the main character waking up, so to speak, to the reality of his situation. The movie came out when I was 10 years old, and I distinctly remember thinking that it was a meta-satirical film telling me that I, too, was a product of a TV show, that it was all about me, that life was just so wild and crazy and insane that it had to be fiction. I was crazy when I was 10. But yeah, this movie feels pretty original in its concept and offers a lot of thought-provoking ethical questions regarding the evolution of reality TV and what's acceptable to do to another human being, because honestly, the more that you think about this movie, what they're doing to Truman is disgusting and tragic. Anthony will talk about it in a second, but you feel for this character because he's just so helpless. He doesn't understand the gravity of the situation or how deep it actually gets. I mean, a huge subplot of the film is Truman falling in love with an extra of the show, which was not what the director wanted. They wanted a famous actress to be his wife instead and potentially bear his children, so they hired, Meryl, and throughout the movie, he's unhappy in his marriage because all he wants is this extra that he met all those years ago. So the producers of the show keep trying to push that envelope further and force situations that wouldn't happen organically, which obviously is not how the real world works. Now, I want to get into some of the finer details that makes The Truman Show just so good, but first, let's hear a word of what Anthony had to say about it. Take it away, dude.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Anthony A. Perez, and a big thanks to David for once again having me here in another video. This time you wanted me to revisit Truman Show, or The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey. And yeah, I've been wanting to rewatch this movie for quite some time, both for my channel and also because my fiance had never seen it. So I got to watch it with her this morning. It was her first time. She enjoyed the film, and what I could say is the movie still really holds up. I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to go ahead and assume at this point, like any other time before, that David has already told you guys the spiel of this film, what it's all about. So I'm going to jump right into my thoughts and say that this film really still holds up for me. I really enjoy Jim Carrey in this film. He does what I really enjoy that he does from time to time, which is just do these really nuanced, dramatic performances that are able to drizzle in his, Jim Carrey-isms, the very over-the-top elements that you expect from his performances. But what I really enjoy about this film and his performance is it's really grounded for the most part, and you really do feel for his character. Now, I also do want to mention that sometimes I felt like the Jim Carrey-isms kind of seemed a little out of place in this movie. He doesn't do it a whole lot, but there's definitely those moments where he's a little bit over the top that I feel was a little bit more over the top than the rest of the film. But for the most part, I really thoroughly enjoy Jim Carrey in this film. I enjoy his performance, and I enjoy the overall concept. And I think the premise is just so strong that it just kind of keeps me engaged every time I watch. On top of that, the film is very well paced and it's constantly got something going on. There aren't a lot of slow moments in this film that are ever really boring for me, and any of the slower moments that really kind of bring the pace of the film down for just a moment are really great character moments, and I feel like they handle those moments really, really well, and being able to kind of bounce back from those slower moments and keep the film moving. I feel like the pacing is really well done, and I really have to praise the writing team and the screenplay writers for the way that they laid out this film and the story of this film. There are a couple things in the film that I found myself thinking that was a little bit more underdeveloped than I remember. More specifically, just the separation between him and his wife Meryl. In the film, his fake wife. There's the big blowout scene where he has the knife to her neck, where it's like, okay, this is, obviously the finale of their relationship in terms of, there's not going to be something to kind of build up from after this, even though you don't expect that there's going to be. But yeah, they kind of just write her off and say that she's going to, be leaving him. And then there's just a line of dialogue that kind of confirms that she did indeed leave, but they don't ever really get into it again after that big blowout scene, which makes sense. The actress in the moment was over it. She did not want to, be around him anymore. She literally said it's unprofessional in that scene. And yeah, I really thoroughly enjoy the way that they handle Truman being in these situations with these various actors and extras, and them having to sell the fact that they are, real to Truman. Specifically, one of those really standout moments for me is like when he walks in on his supposed wife doing surgery, or that she's about to do surgery, and you have the doctor that's going to go in for an incision, or the doctor, I should say, he's going to go in for an incision, and then the patient jumps up, and they all have to act as if, they're really in this situation, but they didn't expect that he actually get in there and watch them do this. So now they have to kind of pretend a little bit. Yeah, I think that they handled that all really, really well. I love those moments that are just very strange for Truman, whereas we as an audience know what's going on, and being able to kind of see him kind of discover things over the course of the film. I think Jim Carrey does a really, really good job of selling that over the course of the film. And more than anything, though this film has a really unique and cool premise, and it is a bit over the top and bizarre and is completely unethical and would never happen, I just really enjoy the way that they choose to tell the story and how engaging they continually keep it. It's never boring for me as I'm watching it, and I really love the way that they make you feel for Jim Carrey's character. At the end of the day, it's a very tragic existence, to have been born on television and, find out all these years later that all the people that you've come across, your family, your friends, the neighbors, people that you work with, everybody has just been an actor and an extra that's part of this fake big dome world that you live in. And anytime you try to escape and move to a new place or try to go on a vacation, there's always been these things that hold you back, and you're stuck in this one place. So you really do feel for the character of Truman over the course of the film. I think Jim Carrey sells that really, really well. And this is just a good, fun, entertaining movie for me. By the time it was over, I thought to myself, it breezed by. It didn't feel like a long movie. It didn't even feel like a full movie's length. And I really just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I always wish every time I watch this movie that I could just see a little bit of a glimpse of what, Truman did as soon as he got into the real world. Maybe him kind of coming in contact with some people on the outside who would watch them. I don't think that the film needs that in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. I think the movie is perfect and the ending is damn near perfect. But I would have loved to have seen what happened to him, or what his thought process was as soon as he got out into the real world. Because over the course of the film, that's all he wanted. You know what I mean? I would love to have seen him be reunited with the woman of his dreams, the woman that he was actually, romantic about throughout the entirety of the film. I would have loved to have seen them actually meet on the other side, but we never get to see that. So, it's one of those movies that allows you as an audience member to think about where it's going to go and what could happen, but also kind of leaves you kind of wanting to see those moments. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's gonna be my thoughts on Truman Show. I didn't mean to talk so much, but a big thanks to David for having me here in this video. Always appreciate you having me in a video, my friend, and I look forward to whatever we do next. If you guys have not already done so, come on over to my channel, Anthony A. Perez, where I have tons of collabs, including many with David from Interpreting the Stars here. So again, thank you for having me in this video, my friend. I look forward to hearing the rest of your thoughts on it, and I'll go ahead and pass it back now. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Huge thanks to Anthony once again for joining me on another review. Seems to me, for the most part, we agree about this movie. I also want to say that I definitely agree about some of those Jim Carrey-isms being a little bit over the top versus some of the other things that happen in the movie. You're not wrong. In 1998, there was still a lot of Ace Ventura in everything that he did, no matter how dramatic the film was. The nice thing about that, though, is that The Truman Show was clearly written around that idea that Truman himself was basically Jim Carrey, that the world loves him because he's kind of goofy and charismatic. So it's definitely nothing that hugely bothers me, but I understand where you're coming from. So again, I want to quickly cover some technical things. First of all, the people category, that scored 18 out of 20 possible points because the concept of the people and the characters in general is pretty much a huge focus on in the film, right? Like Anthony said, even when it gets to some of those slower moments, it comes out as a strong character development thing. This film is a roller coaster of emotions. It makes you smile in its comedic scenes and tense up for those moments that kind of dip into thriller territory. And that's all possible thanks to these people and how they present themselves. My writing category got full points across the board, so 10 out of 10, because again, the premise is really, really interesting, really engaging. It still feels mostly original, has a ton of one-liners that I remember to this day. It has a deeply meaningful plot that the more you watch it, the more it means to you. And the writing, by the way, paced extremely well. My BTS, behind the scenes stuff, that got 9 out of 10. The only thing they didn't get full points here was visuals, because nothing about the production design, costume, makeup, special effects, none of that really stood out to me. It sometimes gets close, but I much prefer the use of hidden cameras for the cinematography. I thought the editing, specifically when it came down to him piecing together what's happening in the world around him, was extremely well done. I thought the soundtrack was awesome. There's one song in the movie called Truman Sleeps that I know how to play on the piano by heart, and I do every time that I run into a piano. Perfect scores for the narrative arc and the entertainment categories. I mean, seriously, there's not much in this movie to complain about. So let's add all that up. From an unbiased technical vantage point, pretty much everything that I listed off, other than the entertainment category, went into the unbiased score. So when we add all that up, divide by 50, our unbiased score is actually 94%. And like I said, my entertainment category did get perfect points, and actually so did my specialty category, which I believe I scored perfect points to the Jim Carrey question because this is one of his best movies. I also scored perfect points for the simulated reality thing because it's one of the best simulated reality films that I can think of. Perfect points to the old scoring system, which I would have scored 10 out of 10, and I have scored 10 out of 10 in the past. And as far as halfway decent is concerned, I mean, yeah, it's more than halfway decent, right? So that means that my bias score is a perfect 100%. Averaging out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 97%. 97 out of 100 possible stars, or an A+ letter grade. Thank you to Anthony one more time for joining me on this review, talking about one of my favorite Jim Carrey films of all time. I hope that we can collab on another video soon. And for everybody watching, go check him out. Show him some love. Subscribe to his channel. Also, before I go, let me know your thoughts on The Truman Show in the comment section down below. And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us.